Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Gauranitai 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 Jaya Gauranitai Gauranitai Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Jaya Radha Vrindavan Chandra Radha Vrindavan Chandra Radhe Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada 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 Gaur Pimanandi Jai Mishipad Paramahamsa Pri Prajapacharya Stotra Satta Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Boy Charanarjuna Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki ISKCON DVT Founder Charya's Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Samavata Bhaktivinoda Ki Harinam Sankirtan Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Dainitai Gaura Premanande All glories to the assembled devotees All glories to the assembled devotees All glories to the assembled devotees all glories to Sri Guru and to Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki. This one. Always should have asmana. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Taksuram Biritam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sanyavadi Satyachari Satarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Shri Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So thank you for the opportunity of Hare Krishna. Leave here. Yeah. We have to kindly don't mind. The voice is a bit better, but not fully recovered. So hopefully it should be okay. We have to come to big temples to see many saffron-colored devotees. So I was given a text, and I think we're meeting for about an hour. We, as we normally do, after hearing something from Shastra, we'll try to comment on that a little bit, and then open it up for any possible questions, and that may be there. So this is not a second Bhagavatam class. But because Srimad Bhagavatam is our favorite book, we were just discussing a little earlier when Srinath Prabhu introduced our Shvetadvip Prabhu, whom I had met before. I think everyone knows him here. Yeah, I would think so. Very active devotee since probably quite a few years as well, especially in matters of cow protection. And he was making the observation or statement how in Maharashtra, I'd heard actually last year how Maharashtra had the government had introduced some legislation for total protection of cows in Maharashtra. And we were discussing a little bit, and he was mentioning how the exact figure I forget, but so many lakhs, crores actually, of cows in India. Whatever the number may be, only 10% of those cows are Deshi cows. Yeah. So protecting the cows, of course, we don't only protect Deshi cows. For us, cows are cows, although different people have different opinion. Maybe I should relate before I come to the text here, since it's just coming to my mind. Some years back, I mean, India is a place where they have at different times like yatras, and devotees go on yatra to different holy places. So maybe 5 years back or so, there was, some of you might have been connected with that. Some of the sadhus in India organized the Vishwamangal Yatra, Gogram Yatra. I mean, it had the name Vishwamangal for the whole world, but it was basically in India. And I had participated, attended a few of the meetings, because they would be going from, anyone remember that? Vishwamangal, that name is there. It started actually in Kurukshetra, and it went on for about 3 months or something, different. They had vehicles, they went all around India, just to bring awareness about a mother cow. So in one of the lectures, one of the main swamis actually, he gave a very interesting analogy, which I believe has a good amount of, let's say, meaning, should have for all of us. So he was telling that up to now there have been 2 world wars. True or not true? 2 world wars. But most of us, when we think about World War, we think about the First World War in 1914, and then the second one later. So he was talking about the First World War was in regards to protecting Mother Sita. Lord Brahmachari went to war against Ravana to protect his wife. Second World War happened not that long ago, 5,000 years ago, in regards to another mother, Mother Draupadi, and therefore the Battle of Kurukshetra. So he was making the point that there will be, he was predicting a 3rd World War in connection with another mother, and this mother will be Mother Cow. Kind of interesting. When we begin to understand how essential and vital and absolutely necessary if we want to reestablish a Vedic culture, then in many ways this just having a theoretical understanding will not solve the issue. And obviously it's not something just sentimental. We are taught how, yes, religion can be sentimental, and very often it is, and it leads to fanaticism when there's not proper philosophical understanding. And the opposite, of course, as we know, is true. When we only have philosophy without proper religion, then that is mental speculation. I have no idea what verse I'm going to be reading here. In any event, it's okay. But to me, this is such a central theme that, especially because so many of you are brahmacharis, if not most of you, very important for our present and future brahmacharis to carry forth the mantle of Krishna consciousness. Let me read this verse. Okay. This verse doesn't have a purport. Correct. Okay. Let's see what this verse is telling. This is from, one of our favorite chapters. Canto 7, chapter 12. The Perfect Society for Spiritual Classes. Which is well known, especially to brahmacharis. I'll just read once the Sanskrit and then the translation. Sri Narada Uvacha Brahmachari Gurukule Pasam Ranto Gurur Hitam Acharan Dasavan Nicho Goraul Sudrida Sodridaha. Yes. Translation. Narada Muni said, a student should practice completely controlling his senses. He should be submissive and should have an attitude of firm friendship for the spiritual master. With a great vow, the brahmachari should live at the Gurukula only for the benefit of the Guru. Yes. Actually, brahmachari class should speak about brahmachari. Traditionally, as mentioned here, actually, one who is brahmachari is meant to display these qualities of being humble, submissive, and simply focused on service, traditionally on service to the spiritual master. We have a bit of a unique situation in ISKCON. Most devotees don't associate on a daily basis with their spiritual master. And we have many spiritual masters also. And we have something that is quite unique as well. We have a whole international society. We have a whole organization which is promoting a particular mission, which is the mission, of course, of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And the more a brahmachari serves that mission, then he is serving his spiritual master. And he is serving our founder, Acharya, who is basically the Shiksha Guru for all of us within the society, as we are receiving, Srila Prabhupada has worked out the whole, 7 purposes of ISKCON, and we read and associate with Srila Prabhupada in his books on a daily basis. So we are simultaneously, of course, serving in our respective temples, but we need to keep in mind, and brahmacharis are those who are meant to have maximum time to do the maximum type of service actually for the mission, because they don't have a family to look after, and they're not involved socially. They're really meant to be focused on whatever particular service they have been given. So in many ways, actually, brahmachari life is meant to be a very glorious life, free from undue anxieties, because we don't have to, as brahmacharis, make any particular effort for our personal maintenance or personal needs. We can actually be, and we should be, focused on what is the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what is the mission as nicely articulated by our founder, Acharya. So, probably in most of our temples, brahmacharis are naturally engaged in so many kinds of services. It may be deity worship, it may be, of course, a lot probably has to do with preaching, different preaching programs. Brahmacharya is also meant to more deeply study and understand Shastra, important aspect. Srila Prabhupada, he, as we know, introduced these systems of Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhav, Bhakti Vedanta, etc. So, not all, but most of our brahmacharis are have opportunity, in all likelihood, in most of our temples, to take on some like Brahmanical type of activity. But especially those who have that natural inclination or tendency, like to study books, that's a quality of Brahmana. Brahmanas are meant to, it's one of the mandatory activities for Brahmanas every day, to be connected with Shastra, to study, and of course to engage in various types of preaching activities. We need more brahmacharis who who can go beyond, let's say, only the Brahmanical aspect of what Vedic culture is all about. I mean, when we speak of Brahmanical culture, it can be understood in a very broad term as, promoting the Vedic culture, Vedic ideals of living based on the various injunctions in the Shastra. But as learned, so we need learned brahmanas. Grihasthas can also be brahmanas. It's not exclusive to brahmacharis, but in many ways brahmacharis should have more time for study. And as mentioned here in this verse, they are meant to assist, if not their own personal guru or spiritual master, but in the overall mission of the society. It's becoming more important for brahmacharis, I mean, whether it's here in India or outside of India. I think India is producing the largest number of brahmacharis at this time. It's like in the last few years, some of you must have attended some of the conferences, the student conferences that are organized. It's quite amazing. So many younger people coming to Krishna consciousness. So brahmacharis are very important. In many ways, they're meant to be like the pillars of a society that is primarily focused on preaching. Our society is primarily focused on preaching as opposed to just practicing individually for our personal advancement. Through preaching, we will advance in Krishna consciousness. Very often, Prabhupada reminded us about, how our society is a society that is stressing Gosyanandi as opposed to Bhajananandi. And that's very important for us to understand. We are meant to be focused on so many different types of preaching activities. It means somehow bringing people to Krishna consciousness, training them in Krishna consciousness, and also trying to see by looking at, by studying what our previous acharyas, especially our founder acharya, Srila Prabhupada, what is their vision? Unless we have a clear understanding of the vision and the mission of the Krishna consciousness movement, things will tend to become stale, like not so. Brahmachari actually should be very enthusiastic. I mean, all devotees should be, but brahmacharis even more so, because brahmachari life is facilitating or enabling one to give his maximum time and energy, isn't it, for preaching Krishna consciousness. And if we actually do that, then we'll feel very satisfied, As Krishna explains, Sukham Karatamavyayam, when we are cultivating this higher knowledge, Rajavidya, Rajaguyam, Pavitra Midam Uttamam, Pratyakshavagamam Dharmyam, Sukham Karatamavyayam. So brahmacharis are meant to be happy people, satisfied if one is actually nicely, properly engaged. And we should really make that effort to understand. As a matter of fact, that's described as the perfection. The perfection of a disciple is to imbibe the mood and mentality of his spiritual master. Unless we can visualize, unless we can thoroughly understand on the long term. Of course, on the long term, we're all aiming to go for Goloka, to go back to the spiritual world. But within this material world, we should know also what are more long-term type of goals and objectives of our society. And most brahmacharis when I joined as, I was not married, but in those days, for those who were not married, the first day that you joined, you were given saffron color. So I never wore white color. I don't know what it was. That's how it was. And I'm sure some of you have seen, in those days practically, the large number of devotees were brahmacharis in the early days. It was even considered Maya to get married. And of course, once we read more thoroughly the purports given by Srila Prabhupada, we come to know how brahmachari life is not only for brahmacharis. Brahmachari life is actually for everyone, including grihasthas. That's why they are referred to as grihastha brahmachari, isn't it? If one has received proper training, especially in one's early life, then he can become quite easily, or let's say more easily than otherwise, a grihastha brahmachari. Means he will follow the principles of brahmachari life and beget children or have sex life for the purpose of bringing forth good progeny. The Western world has a long way to go to understand some of these basic principles. The brahmacharis have a very important role. All of you who are brahmacharis serving for however many years it may be, you're able to render, you have the opportunity to render very valuable services to the society, to your spiritual master, and to the overall mission of Krishna consciousness. Obstacles will be there. We are in the material world of obstacles and problems, but if we nicely and seriously take up the process, then it's not a major, should not be a major problem. So I'll just read again the verse, which is directed for, as spoken by Narada Muni. Narada Muni said, a student should practice completely controlling the senses. He should be submissive and should have an attitude of firm friendship for the spiritual master. With a great vow, the brahmachari should live at the Gurukula only for the benefit of the Guru. As mentioned earlier, we're leaving some time for any questions the devotees may have on the topic of, the chosen topic. Yeah. Yes.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Yes.
For your class. I couldn't attend your previous sessions in NVCC, so
We'll forgive you.
I wanted to ask about about various types of varnashram, which I had heard, like one is Daivi varnashram, Vedic varnashram, and Asuri varnashram. Some types I had heard.
There's only two types.
Okay.
Yeah.
Two types, and Daivi and.
Yeah, what is not Daiva Varnashram is covered to different degrees with Asuric Varnashram. Yeah.
So, I want to know exactly what is the definition of Devi Varnashram.
Yes.
How it is different from Vedic Varnashram. So Prabhupada said that we cannot revive the Vedic Varnashram, what was there before, and now we follow Devi Varnashram. So.
Actually, the Daivi Varnashram, Prabhupada translates in the Bhagavatam actually as divine culture. Divine culture. So divine culture in our context as Vaishnavas means all the members who are part of the varnasrama are focused on one thing, which is to serve Krishna. They're all focused on practicing devotional service. So, I mean, there are different devotees who have different explanations and give different names to varnashram, whether they call it Vedic varnashram. I mean, Prabhupada wanted us to revive Vedic culture. So, at the same time, Prabhupada did say we cannot completely, some of the descriptions, for example, regarding Gurukul, where, students in Gurukul wear long matted hair, cover their body with, the bark of trees. I'm not seeing anyone here doing that. So that's what it means. We can't revive some of those practices, but the essence of what is varnashram, the essence of what is Vedic culture, that we can revive. Because, of course, because you were not in those classes, we were explaining how our whole culture, Vedic culture, and the principles of dharma, these are eternal principles, isn't it? We speak of Sanatana Dharma. So being eternal, that means the principles in themselves, they are unchanging. Just like the three modes of material nature, it's not that 5,000 years ago, Hare Krishna, or it's not that in previous yugas the three modes of nature were not there. Three modes of Prakriti is always there whenever there's material creation. So we need to understand how these basic principles, and then we need to apply them according to our present situation. Kala Deshapatra, they are very essential principles to introduce and apply the principle, Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada was one of those rare experts in introducing, dharma, in introducing Krishna consciousness in Western countries, where he made different adjustments. But he didn't, he did not abandon the basic, like the pillars, the 4 pillars of dharma. They will always be the 4 pillars of dharma. Satyam, Dagat, Pasucham. These 4 principles of sinful activities, isn't it? The vows that we take at the initiation, these will always remain sinful activities. So dharma is unchanging, but how it is applied from in one place to another may vary somewhat. But the basic principles. So there are primary and secondary, we could say, rules or regulations. The primary rules are unchangeable. The secondary, they can be changed. So to me, it's like, it makes it much easier to understand varnashram when we hear Prabhupada's description, Prabhupada and our previous acharyas who emphasize Daiva. Daiva for us means Krishna. Daiva for us means devotional service. Just like it's not sufficient simply to be spiritual. In the Nectar Devotions, Srila Rupa Goswami explains how the 3 types of happiness, right? So material happiness generally is for the majority of people who don't know anything beyond. Then the second type of happiness is called spiritual, but there is something higher than spiritual happiness, which is exclusive for those who know about bhakti. It's called devotional happiness. So we as devotees, we're coming in this lineage of bhakti, where devotional happiness, devotional service is the core principle, and therefore our definition, our understanding of varnasrama is where all the members are focused on bhakti, devotional service. If somebody may be spiritual, but if he doesn't know Krishna, if he doesn't practice devotional service, then that is not complete. And we call that, so many different varieties of asuric varnasrama. Even now varnasrama is existing, but it's totally perverted. We have politicians, isn't it? We have intellectual people, we have the natural divisions are there because everyone is under the modes of material nature, but it is deviated, it is impure. Our objective is to gradually introduce what is meant to be the most purified presentation of varnasrama focused on devotional service. Yes.
Manas, thank you very much for giving complete proper understanding of varnashram. Basically, I have two questions. One question is that when we talk of varnashram, then ashram stands for brahmachari, grahastha, vanprastha, and sannyas. And when varna comes, it's brahmana, kshatriya, vaishya, shudra. Now in brahmachari life, we find that sometimes the brahmachari who is having kshatriya mentality, kshatriya character, he is into brahmanical role, and sometimes somebody who is brahmana, he is into administration. So they remain dissatisfied because their nature is not compatible or suitable. And this all is happening that that because we are Vaishnavas, so we should more important than seeing our varna is to execute the desire of the superiors or the spiritual master. And other side in congregation also we find that somebody is brahmanical because he is not getting job, he is taken up the profession of kshatriya. So it's topsy turvy. So what do you say about it?
Can you solve all these problems in 1 minute? I was mentioning this point.
So I meant to say, should I be bothered about this or just theoretically understand and move ahead?
Brahmachari should not be bothered. Brahmachari should be much less bothered. Let me explain. Can I explain? Give the mic to somebody else. Thank you. So, see, there's a difference between devotees who are full-time serving in a temple, regardless, as brahmacharis, or we have some grihastas, free engaged also in the temple, maybe vanaprastha, sannyasis. The role and responsibilities in a temple in many ways are very vastly different than outside the temple in the context of varnasrama. Within the temple, we do what we call the needful, isn't it? I may have this tendency, I may have that tendency, this nature, that nature. If there's water on the floor, I need to wipe it off. Am I a Shudra? Am I? There's no necessity to think so much within the temple in terms of varnasrama. That's why varnasrama, in many ways, can be more easily taken up. I would say it can only be fully taken up outside a temple, where the vast majority of people are meant to live, well, in our Vedic context, to live in villages, not in the cities, right? We should not misunderstand, because sometimes people say, but Maharaj, they used to be, Dwarka was there, Hastinapur was there. So, Vedic culture is not against cities. We are against demonic cities, and mostly that's what we have. Where are the Vedic cities? Anyone know where's a Vedic city here? Anywhere in the world? We don't have Vedic cities, isn't it? So, for a brahmachari, full-time brahmachari in a temple, in one sense there's less consideration regarding varna. And there should be less consideration regarding ashram if he's a fixed-up brahmachari. So, the mood and the mentality in a temple is that, I was very happy when I was brahmachari in my temple where I joined. I was in Ottawa, in Canada. And my mood and mentality at that time, actually, I was, because my father's profession is, he's a professional chef, cook. Mind you, not a vegetarian cook. But I got some experience, and so when I joined the temple, very soon I became the head cook. I was very happy. Because I was deciding what to serve for the Sunday feast, isn't it? Yeah. Anyways, but I remember I stayed 2 years in my temple in Ottawa, small temple, just a few devotees, and I was thinking to myself, how long is Krishna going to keep me here in the kitchen? We don't know what Krishna has in mind for any of us. And in one sense, we shouldn't be overly bothered about it if we're brahmacharis. Brahmacharis, we serve, right? If you take a cow and you bring the cow on this side of the pasture, what's the cow going to do? Eat grass. If you take her on this side, eat grass. I'm not saying that brahmacharis are like cows. Of course, cows are in the mode of goodness, and they might be better situated than some of our brahmacharis. Our main preoccupation in general as devotees, but especially as brahmacharis, is like Krishna knows what is best for all of us. He knows, therefore, what is best for me. He knows where I should be, what service I should be doing. So let me develop that service mindset, that service mood, attitude, like nicely described here by Narada Muni. To be submissive, to serve, and allow Krishna to make, if Krishna wants me one day to be in some other place or to do some other service, Krishna will make those arrangements. Again, especially as brahmacharis, main focus should be, how to serve my authorities, how to serve my spiritual master, how to serve the mission, and simultaneously, those who have more ability, natural inclination, and desire to cultivate spiritual knowledge. And if one is very much like into administration, then maybe down the line Krishna will arrange that one will be more involved in that. Although generally that's more for grihastas than brahmacharis. Yeah. Does that help? He still has questions. Yes.
But the second question is that every time, often Prabhupada is writing repeatedly about varnasrama in almost many purports.
Yes.
The varnashram from
Yes.
4 varnas, 4 ashrams.
Yes.
And many speakers like you come and give very good detailed talk about varnashram and all.
Then when we go, you forget
After you go, this life, now as brahmachari, what happens is we preach either to college people who are very strongly connected with city life, or congregation who are struggling hard to maintain their passionate jobs. And we have morning program and daytime services, and then we have within our services. So Prabhupada is repeatedly emphasizing that everybody should be progressive towards varnashrama.
Everyone should be
Progressively moving towards varnashrama.
positively moving towards varnashrama. What does that
So,
mean? What does that mean?
No, progressively.
Huh?
Progressively.
Progressively.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So what does that mean? What does that mean?
My understanding is something I should be doing for what Prabhupada wanted as an individual.
Something.
So what should be my course of action so that I understand that what Prabhupada wanted of me regarding varnashram, I am doing in my own individual life. Something practical I meant to say.
Okay. It's very much related, I would say, to the point I was trying to emphasize, how one, in addition to just like being available for doing so many different types of services, because when we live in a temple, as you probably know, there's unlimited service. There's always service, practically. So much so that very often we don't have time to study. So I would say, especially for brahmacharis, there should be, our temples should allocate, especially those who are maybe more inclined for doing that. We could say different types of brahmacharis. Brahmacharis who will be just simply satisfied in doing all kinds of services, and those who might be more inclined to, let's say philosophically, to go more deeply into the philosophy and in the context of modern day society, in the context of our congregation, in the context of what Prabhupada spoke about regarding varnasrama. We need some of our brahmacharis who will know that our ISKCON society needs to make some tangible steps towards establishing varnasrama. It's a standing order given by Srila Prabhupada. And we should try to understand what does that mean in a concrete, practical way, and how to actually establish varnasrama. So we repeat all the time one of the important aspects in regards to Varnashram College. Varnashram College will facilitate individuals who will be either teachers or students to more deeply study the subject matter, isn't it? And Varnashram colleges will open the doors to this whole, yet, I would say, yet to be addressed whole dimension of not only establishing a farm community here or a farm community there. Prabhupada laid the basic foundation. Every temple should have a farm community. That's one level, that's one thing. Simultaneously, Srila Prabhupada established that ISKCON as a society should establish, varnashram dharma, varnashram communities. That means that actually there should be dozens, hundreds, if not thousands, of such village communities where those who are residing in that community are living according to the codes or the principles that are there in the Shastra, in terms of how they interact and care for the cows, in terms of organic natural farming, very practical aspects. So we need some of our brahmacharis to learn these four, I was mentioning about the four fundamental sciences that make up Vedic culture, right? science of philosophy, science of education, science of economics, and the science of politics, right? So, until we establish varnashram colleges, most of our devotees, whether they are brahmacharis or not, will not have a clear understanding of these Vedic sciences. So my question is, if we don't have clear understanding of these four Vedic sciences, how can we expect to establish Vedic villages, Vedic communities which are meant to be based on these four sciences? Okay, mainly and primarily Srila Prabhupada focused on training brahmanas, but Prabhupada wanted that our brahmanas go beyond just training brahmanas. That it is the responsibility, especially of brahmanas, to train others to become qualified kshatriyas, qualified vaishyas, and qualified shudras as well. Because all four make up varnasrama community. Yeah. So it most likely will vary from one individual to another. I'm just giving some kind of like basic guidelines. So, do we have that book? That famous book? Yeah. I just want to show you something. No. The Russian version. Is that here? Go and get it. Get the key. Actually, now, hey, put it up there. We have this English version. Well, yeah, okay. Quick. You have 50 seconds. Perfect. This book needs to be translated, I was mentioning, in all the local languages in India. Why? Especially because India is a place of varnasrama dharma, more than probably any other place. And because so many of the population in India don't know English, don't follow English. So in the very least, this book needs to be made available in Hindi, and then it should be made available like in Marathi and Telugu and Bengali, etc. So that our devotees can introduce and discuss and give guidance to people. I sent him actually to get the Russian version. This book is already translated in Russian. You should all feel terrible that the book has been translated in that language so far away. And this is it. If anyone knows Russian, you can read it. Otherwise, just have a look at it. So this is the same book, right? Last year, it's translated. Because there are some devotees in Russia who are keen on, there's actually quite a few things happening. We have a varnashram college that we started in Ukraine a few years ago. They have a building designated, for that purpose. We have a community in near Hyderabad where they have also a building for varnashram college. And are giving seminars at different times, etc. So definitely, a young brahmachari is meant to learn as a student, but as a brahmachari, if he continues as a brahmachari, then he becomes a teacher, isn't it? So we need, it's like, this chapter, quite interesting when Yudhishthira Maharaj, who is a grihastha, he is asking Narada Muni, can you please speak to me about varnashram dharma? That's a question. And the first thing that he mentions, I can just bring it up here, is that yes, I will be very happy to speak to you, and I will simply because Narada Muni is a brahmachari. I will simply convey to you what I have heard from my Lord Narayan. So, the point I'm making is that a brahmachari, by simply following the good instructions that are given can be most helpful to people in any of the ashrams. And should become well versed in these two levels of the science of dharma, which we covered the other day. Spiritual swadharma, material swadharma. We have an imbalance at present, and therefore, if this book is taken up as a study guide, then topics in relation to varnashram and our understanding of varnashram will naturally increase. Yeah. Any other? Yes. So Pune is one of the important temples that we have in India. Large congregation, many brahmacharis. So in many ways you have more of a responsibility to take up this aspect. Of course, it has not been easy within our ISKCON society. So many different priorities, so many different aspects need to be dealt with. And in many ways, this whole dimension of varnashram does present, I must admit, does present certain challenges, because it's kind of like takes us out of our, in many ways, I guess some people might call it like comfort zone of doing the traditional things that ISKCON has been doing since the early days, in terms of book distribution, in terms of spreading the holy name, in terms of opening temples. All of these things are necessary, but they should not be performed while simultaneously neglecting what Prabhupada coined as 50% of his mission. We need to find a balance which, up to now, in my humble estimation, we have not found a balance between these primarily two areas of preaching, means city-based preaching, where most of our temples are located. And if we don't study this book and other references that are given, for example, the 7th canto, right, chapter 11 to 15, then what will be the end result? We'll miss out on 50% of Prabhupada's mission. Is that good for us? I don't think so. It's not serving the overall mission that our founder Acharya has. I will leave it at that for the time being. And thank you all very much for your various services and activities. I was very inspired to hear both yesterday and today. It's like was continued the scores of the book marathon. Very inspiring to see devotees enthusiastic to distribute Srila Prabhupada's books. Kindly continue in this way. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki
I would like to thank Maharaj for his kind presence and his association to all of us. Maharaj has been very kind, very hectic schedule actually. He's based here, but